This is day 1 of the February 92 7-day retreat at Springwater. There are people here who have never been here before. Also, others who've been here for many times or for a few times or not in a long time. So even though the topics we're talking about in the first talk of a retreat may look on the label the same every time, like talking about listening and authority and how we're relating with each other. It's not what I said last time or yesterday or this morning. So can the listening / talking be fresh this morning, this instant? Not having memory as its generator, propellant, but looking openly, freely together. Looking, when I say looking, it includes listening. When I say listening, it includes looking. It includes being. It means being here openly. So if you find a word is misleading to the mind that wants to understand, then bring it up in a meeting. We can substitute words. The openness of being here needs not to be substituted. It can't be substituted as something that is either going on or it isn't. The words that describe openly looking, listening together are substitutable by other words in other languages or new expressions, which I'm always open to trying out at least. So, how are we listening? What is listening? Alone and together. Which doesn't, as I'm asking this question, doesn't apply to you out there, but here, right here. Because, maybe amazingly enough, talking does not exclude listening at the same time. Not only it doesn't exclude it, but the talking will be more accurate, to the point, revealing if there's also listening going on, inwardly and outwardly, as the words are formed and spread as sound waves and are heard. So can, for each one of us, there be at least moments of where there is open listening, so that the words don't just exist on their own level of verbal meaning, remembered, learned, but that there's looking inwardly and outwardly, a transparency to what is actually happening, a reaction coming on, a resistance felt, a pain making itself noticeable. And not being excluded or fought, tuned out. That's the art of listening. Allowing whatever is there to be there. In an open, unprejudiced way. The whole organism is programmed to listen in certain ways, to see, look, listen, feel in certain ways, since we were born, or maybe even earlier in the uterus. And genetically, we're programmed to hear in certain ways. I recently heard a fantastic statistic, which I have forgotten, how many pieces or bits of information are there right now, maybe in this room, and what a minute fraction of what's there is actually perceived, heard, seen, felt. Out of this almost infinite amount of information or stimulation, only a very minute fraction is actually gets through. The rest is filtered out, blocked, resisted, ignored. Either not necessary for survival or threatening, learned to be threatening, and that has gone on the program. Not to hear that, not to get in touch with reactions that may be triggered by listening to that word or that statement. This goes for all of us. So the invitation to listen openly means, is it possible for human beings like you and me, all of us here and out there beyond this hall, to at least for moments listen without a filter or become aware of the filter? Glimpse the filter so that something is understood about our listening. It isn't unbiased, open. And therefore, one begins to not have such faith in it or take it at what we call face value, believe in it, insist upon it. That this is what you said because I heard it. It may not be what you said because I heard it. I heard it because I needed to hear something, not because you said something. Because I need to continue to believe in something. The mind with its programs distorts the input to support the belief system. This happens for all of us. And one does come across it. And if there's enough freedom to be honest about it, not the fear of admitting something even to oneself, then it can be quite a relief from our habitual insistence that we're right, that our memory is trustworthy. Because with that we can argue with each other ad infinitum, what you said and what I heard. I'm just taking that as an example. We argue over other things. So to be open to the distortion that takes place in all of us. And catch it every once in a while, as it happens. without a blame, not blaming oneself for distorting, and not needing to blame the other one for having lied. Just to be easy going on what is discovered. Because if it's discovered that I really didn't hear what you said, the mind turned it around or left out something or just misheard words, statements, inflections. If that's discovered, I don't have to blame myself for it. That's what the next program that sets in so automatically is. Self-blame or other blame, fault-finding trips. There isn't any fault in this. There's just recognition of what is happening in the conditioned mind of human beings. The great difficulty of to hear something openly as it is said, and to feel openly the reactions that come up as something is heard. That's a tremendous challenge to do, just that. Not to ignore the reactions, not to ignore. Not to ignore what he or she just said. Feel the resistance, the fear, the wanting to protect. And we can already ask a question which may crop up now and then throughout this retreat. What are we trying to protect? From harm, from attack, from being made insecure, from hurt. What are we trying to protect? In resisting and not hearing, in hearing something different, in fault finding, here or there. What is being protected? If you say, well, I'm protecting myself. We're not satisfied. I'm not satisfied with that answer for myself. I want to know, what is this me that I'm protecting? There's a real interest with some passion or fervor, or I want to be very careful in the words, some urgency to not accept anything that I don't thoroughly understand. I may not understand it, but then to leave it, sit there, unexplained, and still wonder, what am I trying to protect? Why do I get hurt so quickly, defensive so easily, aggressive in the defensiveness? Finding fault elsewhere for fear of being exposed as the guilty one. So can the listening here in a beautiful hall with plants streaming down the walls, lovely floor, sort of a mysterious fog outside, hiding, and then maybe revealing just a lacy branch, some green grass. In this beautiful space, some 20, 30 people together in silence, can we begin to look and listen a little bit openly here and there to all that goes on? Because right now, maybe nothing needs to be protected. You don't know that. The program doesn't know that. It just springs into action. But as the program sprung into action becomes transparent, the defensiveness, the guilt-finding, the protectiveness, it can be questioned. Is that needed? In this hall with plants and floor and fog and people on a quiet Sunday morning. Does anything need to be protected except out of old, ignored habit? There'll be good food here for the next 7 days, so our survival, food and drink, warmth. There's still lots of wood out there, although it has shrunk. Maybe we've been a little bit more generous in heating since all the trees fell into our lap. But maybe in this, sometimes people use that expression. It's very current in group counseling, psychological counseling, to have a safe place, to have a protected place in which one can look openly and doesn't have to extra protect, so that the protective programs come into view, become transparent. And maybe it also becomes transparent what there is or is not to be protected. Because programs that are seen for being outmolded, outdated, wasteful, painful, divisive, can, in this transparency, wither away, become obsolete. Is possible. If something new is discovered, that an open listening, not bent on self-protection or self and other blame, an openness that's not bent on anything, it's just open to discover, needs no protection. Not only needs no protection, it can't happen as long as protective programs go on unheard, unseen, unfelt. And one of those programs in listening to someone sitting in front of people on a Sunday morning, with a microphone in front, some water to the side. One of the programs is, she has something to say which I need to remember, store up, believe in. It's not quite as unsubtle as that, the program. It just happens from past conditioning. To take somebody's word who sits in a situation like this in front of people, has some kind of reputation, name on a book, other people talking about him or her. This is a very dangerous constellation for just believing and taking at face value what someone is saying, the speaker is saying. To incorporate it, untested, not looked at, not examined. And this is precisely what a talk like this is not for. It's not about that. About accepting, believing, having faith in, trusting me. It's there for us to examine together, to look together at whether what is said to be so really is so. Not to believe it, not to follow it, That's why yesterday I said follow. Following is a dangerous word that I used. And we're looking and listening together, moving together in this topic, because it does have a way of moving, doesn't it? Moving on, broadening or deepening. And can there be participation in this? Not participation in believing, but participation in looking, questioning, wondering, listening, openly, without final conclusions. There's very little, if any, precedence in our education for this kind of listening. It demands a different state of body-mind, away from committing to memory and comparing with memory, away from the dominance of memory, to looking right now. Which doesn't mean a memory terminated or shut down. Memory can be accessed. How was it when last time got into a misunderstanding with so-and-so? How was it? And evoke the memory, but that's different from a memory driving blindly, unconsciously. To evoke it and to look and listen to whatever was remembered, keeping in mind that it was not the whole thing. May have misremembered. He may not even have said that. But I got excited, upset or something, so let me look. Evoke it again and give a fresh, spacious, non-fault finding attention to it. Last time I got defensive. How was it? To take time and space, either during a talk or after the talk. To let it unfold in a fresh way. Not to know all the explanations and causes of why it happened, because of things that happened earlier and earlier and earlier. But all the factors are right here. Feeling threatened, resisting, wanting to protect. Having an idea of this person always says this, and therefore this time he also said this. Maybe this time he didn't, or she didn't. But because of expectation, one misheard. Can something broaden and widen in us and each other to take in so much openness that we don't know anymore what's what, but we can listen very astutely, alertly to what's now. So going by memory right now, what is coming into memory here? It has often happened in the past that as I speak of something very intensely, maybe passionately, with a lot of energy, maybe a raised voice, it is heard as meaning this is true and the opposite is false. And since for the listener in looking the opposite is true, I must be wrong and she must want me to be right. This was said very abstractly. To cover wide ground, abstraction is helpful this way. But we also want a specific example, don't we? in all this talking about openness, has openness become the good, the right, the true, the goal that I should reach, and the closedness that I may feel within, the shut-downness, the cut-offness, welling up of all kinds of prejudice about myself and others? That's bad, that's the bad. And that's what should be conquered, suppressed, gotten rid of, in order to attain that openness she's talking about in such glowing terms. That's a real danger of all of these talks. Just talking about it this morning in a meeting. This danger that, what was it we were talking about? I forget the particular, but it came up recently in a staff meeting too, the danger that clarity or non-division becomes a goal setting into motion all my programmed ambitions to get it. And down on myself, feelings and mechanisms for not being clear, for not being undivided. That is not what this is all about, and yet can one be very sensitively aware of receiving it that way. What she's talking about, I can't feel it. It's not so for me. So this is an ideal that I will work hard to achieve. Maybe on day 6 or 7 I will have it. Or maybe I'll devote my life to retreating so that during this lifetime I will get it. And with that an invocation of all the programs that are already instilled in us to achieve competitively is also there. And alienated or down on anything in myself I observe that is not like this glowing ideal of openness and lightness. So talking about it, putting it there to be looked at. Can we beware of it? Beware meaning to see it when it happens, to see ambition, wanting, goal striving, and just feel the sounds of ambition. The sounds, the vibrations, whatever you want to call it, the whole mechanism of ambition, of wanting, of striving, to listen to that as to the crow's cawing, as it is turned on by imagining a goal. I gotta get this. I have to be that way. Then if that happens, if light is thrown on it, if it becomes, even for instance at a time, somewhat transparent, the programs that are running, then we're together in this talk. But if the ambition program just runs in order to get clarity, lightness and openness, then we're not together. It's not what the talk is all about, to get something and to condemn the opposite, but to look at the whole thing. Without an opposite, which is wrong or worse or better. The whole thing. In a space of being, way of being, which does not sort out the right from the wrong. It just looks at what's there. In you and me and all of us, here, north, south, west, or east. So does this talk about listening also cover the whole topic of authority? To see all the urges, desires to make somebody into an authority, which has at its basis our deep insecurities about not knowing, feeling weak, feeling afraid, and sort of almost an instinctive, impulsive moving towards somebody who seems to be strong, know, have the right answers, can decide for me. The desire to be taken under enormous wings of security by an authority figure. And the danger of those wings, when little chicklets scramble about under the wings of the mother hen, you don't see them anymore. And if you don't see them, they also don't see you. They don't see it. They're warm and dark and cozy. And the mother hen will look out where there's any fox approaching. This is not, the work we're doing here is not a taking under one's wing or being taken under someone else's wing. It's to look for oneself, and yet amazingly it can also happen together. Alone and together is not exclusive of each other. That's amazing. That there can be a looking together which is not dependent, and yet has some sort of facilitation, some people getting together, and two people getting together, looking together. Maybe it is, if one looks for an explanation, an accumulating of energies. Whatever the reason. Somebody saying something which is fairly clear, observable, simple. We can see it together. I can see it for you. You can't see it for me. We all have to see it for ourselves, and yet it can happen while we're looking together or alone. It's not dependent on either state. And in that relationship, there is no authority. There's only something being clear, straightforward, undisguised, unconfused. If that is somewhat clear, then what is our relationship with each other? You and me and you and you, and the kitchen and working in the kitchen, or coming to meeting, or in the bedroom. Is there any place for authority? We may expect it and therefore create it, and therefore respond to what we have created. or not expected, and then therefore not created, and therefore a relationship of a friendly looking together, exploring together. Among people who are interested in finding out about themselves, about relationship, on the very small level of two people or a small group like us here, as well as on a vast level of nations, continents, the whole earth. Is there this feeling at times of just a friendly being together, working together alone, on finding out, on looking, and at times just being quiet with what's there, without groping for authoritative statements or people? To the extent that the groping for authority becomes transparent and therefore withers, to that extent something of strength grows inwardly to look for oneself. The energy of groping stays here in looking. Doesn't go out toward others, investing others with powers, and keeping going the idea of oneself being not good enough, powerless, bad, all of this stuff. Let it come to light, what we think about ourselves, what we think about others, and question it all. Not cynically or sarcastically, but openly, naively, freely, wondering whether all of this image making about ourselves and others is necessary. Seeing the trouble it brings, the heaviness, the divisiveness, or the clinging to those who have similar images to my own, so I don't stand so alone. Someone asked, well, how does this awareness you're talking about, how does it come about? Because that's what you're talking about, isn't it? Just to be aware of what's happening now, not trying to get something else that's not happening, but just here, in touch. How does it come about? I don't know how it comes about, but it's there when we listen for a moment. Movements of bodies. Some fan just kicked in. There's the breathing, isn't there? Can we listen to it for a moment? I'm wondering, how does the listening sound feel? And because I'm wondering, I'm listening. And because I'm interested, then the attention is there to hear it, to feel it, touch it. And movement, someone is making sounds of a body, of cloth. It's also there. Is there the breathing? Is it an effort to hear it, to feel it? And with the breathing, all kinds of sensations throughout the body. Not have any idea, oh, it's my lungs that are breathing, or my mouth that it's breathing, but what is it? What is this whole thing, which I have called breathing so automatically? I don't even know what it is. And I can't know, but I can feel it. It's there. At the same time, we notice all kinds of sensations throughout this body I wasn't aware of before because I was thinking about something else, how to get awareness. That's what I was thinking about, and right now wondering about the breathing, the sounds, the feelings of this body. There it is. With it are words, aren't there? All kinds of commentary, or maybe already daydreaming about something else. In that there's no awareness of breathing. In that there's daydreaming. But right now, where's the daydream? It's something that was. That's enough. It doesn't have to be evaluated, given a grade. Because right now there's breathing again and sensations throughout the body. Am I up on it or down on it? Maybe I am. Can be felt. Good feelings, bad feelings. Words, sounds, all of that is happening. Doesn't need to be judged at all, does it? It's not happening just to me. Everyone in here, it's happening too. We're not different from each other in all of that. If you say, okay, it's all one universal breath, well, then you're into thinking again. Or making something inspirational out of this. Which happens. We like to inspire ourselves and each other with thoughts, ideas. And while that is going on, there is no simple awareness of simple breathing, or all the sounding that's going on. Without making it into anything, because it's already gone. It's here, it's gone, it's here, it's gone. Do we need authority to listen to the breathing? Sound of a crow, sound of a creaking bone. If for a moment there's just the simplicity of listening, at the next moment thinking about it, and then awareness again that thinking was going on, can it be left as simple as possible? Just what's there, just what was. And if we anticipate what will be, can that just be seen as thought, anticipating? And as we anticipate a better future, a clearer mind, at that moment there's no listening to the breathing, because the mind is caught up now in the anticipation compartment, which also brings feelings. There's nothing bad or blameworthy, it's what happens. And can it be seen as it happened? Because we do wake up, amazingly enough, we do. Every once in a while, to just what's there. And can it remain just what's there without blaming, anticipating, criticizing, down on oneself, up on oneself? But if that's what's happening, can we learn about it? So it becomes very intimate what goes on here. In an open, quiet space. No teacher there to supervise or give grades, accept or reject. That's all creation of the mind. Plus our old experiences remembered. If anything that is being said here is not clear, or you would like to go over it, or you see it differently, then do bring it to a meeting. That's also what meetings are for. To clarify what's not understood, or would you like to take further or deeper, or in a talk. Write it down after the talk and bring it to a meeting. Because we will use the talks for bringing up questions that people have in meetings. I'll try not to, that the anonymity is there for the person who said it. If there's something you want to say very privately and would never want to have brought up in a talk, then mention it to me and it will not be brought up. But this is how these talks evolve in a retreat. This is a participatory thing of our questions and going further with them, not saying the same thing again. It's never the same thing. We're looking at it freshly. But don't think that you have to bring a question in order to be a good participant in a retreat. This is idea we have, and it becomes a burden. I think I already mentioned yesterday. Come with nothing. If you wish to come to a meeting, you don't have to. There's no requirement there, no expectation on my part. Can we live that way without expectation? As it comes up, just to see it, unmask it, and let the energy just be here with what's there. We will end here for today.